golf ball sized hail. So I look at that and I go, nope, I'm there's nothing else for me to do but get in the backseat of my car and cover myself with a blanket in case the glass shatters, and just pray that I don't take a direct hit from the tornado. That's all there is to do at this point. What is up, everybody? I am Nobody. In light of the recent news that Mastodon and Brent Hinds have parted ways, I figured it would be a good time to share my experience of trying to see the band in concert for the first time as a teenager, driving through floods in Oklahoma to get to the venue, just to be threatened by a tornado in an event that would come to be known by the public as Tigernado. Just careful, buddy. Careful. All right, that's enough. You got sprayed with a skunk at some point. And now he may not remember it, but I've actually shared this story with the drummer of the band, Brann Sailor, in Las Vegas. Albeit it was a very brief version of the story that I didn't articulate very well because I was just absolutely geeked out of my mind. I ended up next to him in line to go through security to get into a Pig Destroyer concert in Las Vegas. And I recognized him, I saw him, I was like, you're in Mastodon, aren't you? And he was like, yep. This is what I did, you know, I'm getting my stuff out of the little dog bowl that security gives you, right? I'm getting my stuff out and I look at it and I go, I love your music, man. I almost died in a tornado trying to see you guys in Oklahoma. And I just darted off. And, you know, looking back on it, I kind of cringe a little bit because, you know, at the time as I was saying it to him, I thought that I was like proving my devotion as a fan. But in hindsight, you know, the aggressive delivery of it and the way that I just like darted off without giving him a chance to respond, you know, he might have taken it as like I was angry with him over it or I was like complaining about it, you know, and I was a little nervous, and I was also very focused and determined on getting to the front for Pig Destroyer. That was like my laser focused goal. So I wasn't really thinking about like being polite or anything like that. And in hindsight, if I had just been a little bit more chill, I probably could have hung out with the guy, but I just, you know, went on my way. But anyway, let's go back in time to May of 2015. Mastodon was coming to town. They're a band that I adored. I'd been a fan of them since I was like 10. Hadn't had a chance to see them in concert yet. They were on tour with Graveyard and Clutch, so pretty good lineup of bands. And yeah, I'd been looking forward to it for a long time. I got my tickets from Buy for Less. You remember that? You remember those days? How are your joints feeling? You know, I lived in Moore, which is known for its tornadoes. So a tornado comes through, and mind you, this isn't even the tornado that the video's about. This was just the first tornado of that day. Tornado's coming, it's raining cats and dogs, thunder and lightning and hail and all that stuff, flash flooding. You know, we run into the neighbor's shelter. It's packed. There's like 15 people in there. We're all crowded up in the shelter. And I'm just checking my phone, looking at the radar to see what's coming in a few hours. The concert's in a few hours. I'm like, well, this, you know, either the tornado's gonna kill us or it's not. And then, you know, there's still the concert after, hopefully. Let's make sure there's no other storms coming up. Unless they say it's canceled, I'm planning on going. And of course, the weather subsides eventually. We get out of the shelter, you know, and I'm like, all right, like I'm checking the radar. I'm like, it looks like I'm going to this show. Now, my mom's not too keen on the idea because there is going to be rain later on, and we just had this tornado scare, so she's not too keen on me going to this concert. I'm like, come on, we've already had our tornado for the day. What are the odds that there's going to be another one? The weather's gotten it out of its system, right? Plus, I have my own car, and I already have the tickets, and you can't stop me. So it comes time for the show, and, you know, there's some storm clouds brewing up. It's raining, you know, but I'm like, hey, the radar, you know, it looks like it's probably going to be fine, and, you know, they haven't said the show's canceled, so I'm going. I get in my car, and I start driving up there, and, of course, the streets are, like, flooded from the storm that we got earlier, and I'm driving basically through a lake to get to the venue. I'm driving through water that is way too deep for my sedan. It's struggling to power through. I'm like willing it through the deep water. It's just barely making it, really struggling, you know, to make it through, but I get through the big ass puddle. But yeah, we make it there. The show's happening, it kicks off, Graveyard opens, they put on a good set, Clutch is setting up, and I'm getting so excited. You know, the tornado came and went, I drove through floods. My car barely made it, but it did. Now I'm here. The show's happening. Mastodon's gonna play. I'm really gonna see them. Let's go. And as Clutch is setting up, the power goes out, gets dark, and then like after a little bit, some like emergency lights come on, and someone comes on stage with a megaphone. It looks like Brent Hinds, but it could have just been staff at the venue. They're pretty indistinguishable, but he comes onto the stage, he, talks over the megaphone. He's like, everybody shut the fuck up and listen. Because, there's a commotion with power going out. As soon as the lights go out, everybody gets panicked and, all the murmuring and stuff. But he comes on with the megaphone. He's like, everybody shut the fuck up and listen. There's a tornado headed right for us. You can either go home or you can take shelter here, but the show's canceled. Most people just right away went for the exits. They all left. But I was like, let me assess the situation. Let's look at the radar. Let's figure out what's going on, right? And now you don't want to be, there's no real shelter here. There's no underground shelter or anything. It's not a tornado-proof building. It's just some old ballroom. I'm thinking let's see where the tornado's coming from, what path it's taking before I just go out onto the road. So I pull up my phone, I'm looking at the radar, and I see that my route home, the path of the tornado is gonna cross my route home. So I can't just plunge forth onto the road and go home. I have to kind of track the storm's movements and see what it's doing to see how I could maybe take an alternate route to get around it, right, and make it home. And as I'm trying to track the storm and make plans, my phone dies. I'd been using my phone all day tracking the storms earlier. I didn't have it adequately charged, so it died. And then I'm like, well, shit. Now I don't have a way to track the weather, and I don't have a way to get a hold of my people if they're worried about me or if something happens. This is not a good situation. And now, the smart thing to do in this moment would have been to just talk to people, just go find someone else and be like, hey, my phone's dead, can we look at the weather together, right? Can I use your phone? That would have been the smart thing to do. But that's not what I did. What I did was I was like, well, I guess I need to make it home. So I got in my car and I started driving home, and the weather was really bad. The wind was blowing like crazy. It was just a total downpour. Thunder and lightning everywhere, and then tornado sirens start going off. And I'm like, oh shit. And then I pass a sign. Hey guys, post-production Cody here. I have to interject because in this clip I mix up Oklahoma City limits and Oklahoma County line, which makes it seem like I was miles away from where I actually was. Basically, all you need to know is to avoid the flooded roads that I encountered on my way to the venue, I took a detour north and then east to try to go around those flooded roads and avoid the storm that I saw on the radar coming in. But while I was driving, an emergency weather alert came on the radio and said there was a tornado on the ground, basically exactly where I was. And I'm like, that's exactly where I am. So immediately I'm like, shelter now. I see a car wash. It's got covered carports, and it's full of cars. So I pull into the car wash for shelter. I notice all these cars in the carports, nobody's in them. They must have taken shelter somewhere. There's a building across the lot. I'm like, they must have gone in there. I get out of my car to run to that building. The wind is blowing like crazy, and there's hailstones just pounding the pavement, like golf ball sized hail. So I look at that and I go, nope, I'm fucked. There's nothing else for me to do but get in the backseat of my car and cover myself with a blanket in case the glass shatters, and just pray that I don't take a direct hit from the tornado. That's all there is to do at this point. So that's what I did. I've got a blanket covering me in my backseat. It's dark, and I'm just hearing the sirens blare and hear the wind and the hail and the rain, and I'm just sitting there praying oh my God, please don't let me take a direct hit from this tornado. And that lasted about 5 to 10 minutes, and then eventually, the hail got weaker, the rain eased up a bit, the sirens turned off, and it was like, okay. And that was that. I ended up making it home, so maybe it's a little sensational to say that I almost died in a tornado trying to see Mastodon, but it was a very particularly dangerous situation and quite terrifying at that. One of the most terrifying experiences of my life. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, this event would come to be known as Tigernado. It became like a big meme in Oklahoma. It was a big hoax. Basically, there was a really big outbreak of tornadoes all across the state, and there were rumors that a tornado had hit one of the like Tiger King exotic zoos, and some tigers got released. You know, some tigers got loose because of the tornadoes, and it caused like a big panic, and that story ended up being fake. There were no tiger escapes during the tornado, but that didn't stop it from becoming a big meme on social media and becoming known as Tigernado, and that, despite it not actually happening, that's what the event will come to be remembered as in history. But now Mastodon did end up coming back to Oklahoma, to that venue a couple years later, and I did get to see them, and that was a great experience. They played a lot of stuff off of Blood Mountain and Crack the Sky, which are my favorite albums by them. They also played my favorite songs from Once More Around the Sun. They played for like 2 hours, and it was great. I also got to see them in Las Vegas, and at that show, they played more stuff off of Leviathan, as well as The Czar, which is my favorite Mastodon song ever. And so yeah, both performances were great. I'm very lucky to have gotten to see them with their original lineup, which it pains me to say that now, but yeah, I mean, it was a great time. It is kind of ironic that my most memorable experience of Mastodon was the time that I didn't see them, but both times that I did see them, they were great. I'm not sure what new form the band is going to take, but I will say they're all great musicians, they're all great performers, so whatever ends up becoming of Mastodon, I'm sure that they're worthwhile to see in concert. You know, whether Brent's in the picture or not, you know, it sucks that he's not, but I feel like it's still going to be worth it to see them. Definitely, you know, it was a great time the times that I saw them. So yeah, see you later.